Da, 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 da. Hi. Hello. How we going, guys? Let me just quickly grab my tea. Cup of char. Just put some milk in my tea. Got a bit of honey in there as well, make it taste a bit sweeter. Okay, right. I'll be with you now, guys. Defending Elvis Presley. Fans want the truth. Okay, so we're going to do a quick half hour with Ginger Alden, and then I've got to shoot off to work. I may do another one after work, hopefully. So I'm in southwest UK near Bristol. My name's Louis. I'm 57 years old, and I live with my lovely family, my beautiful wife, and my 5 kids. I have 6 kids, but I live with the 5 kids that I had with my beautiful wife and my son. Just get some. My son Andreas, who is 28 years old, lives in Bristol, and we are like best friends. We are best friends. One day I'll get him to join us on the live stream. My son Andreas. I named him after my twin brother. My son Andreas is named after my twin brother. So just a little bit of info on my life. Ta-da! So Mando, have you become a member? Yes, we like it. Right, let me just quickly tell everyone. How are you going, Mando? Thank you so much for becoming a member. It's very, 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 very appreciative. We're trying to get to 100 members so that we can do some members lives. Just 100 members. We're going to do just members lives. So so I've just got a message from someone. Okay, let's just tell everyone we're live. I'm just gonna put it on the chat. Then I'm gonna put it on the Defending Elvis Presley. We have a Facebook page. Let's just get on it. Put live. I always put it on my name, Louis Macreadys. Okay. Now I'm going to play a video. Right. I'm going to quickly play a video. So I'm very, very grateful. Welcome to becoming a member, Mando. Remind me of your name. I've forgotten already. I'm so sorry. Hi, Jean. Hi, Lorna. I purposely did a video. Now, this is part 1 of a Ginger Alden live stream. We did another live stream this morning that turned out to be just a really good chat and debate about many subjects. So this video is a quickie, and it's about Ginger Alden. Let's have a look. I did a short video this morning. Let's see if I can find it. And I'm hoping this will let me play it because I'm not sure how loud this phone goes. We're going to give it a go.
Last month marked 37 years since the death of Elvis Presley at Graceland, his iconic home in Memphis, and many of his fans still wonder what exactly happened in his final hours. Now, answers are being revealed in the new memoir, Elvis. Last month marked 37 years since the death of Elvis Presley at Graceland, his iconic home in Memphis, and many of his fans still wonder what exactly happened in his final hours. Now, answers are being revealed in the new memoir, Elvis and Ginger. Elvis Presley's fiance and last love finally tells her story. Ginger Alden was 20 years old when she met and fell in love with Elvis in 1976, and she's with us now. Ginger, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Lily. Thank you.
The first thing people asked me when I said I was going to talk to you today is, why now? Why is she telling the story 37 years later? What's the answer?
Well, when my son was 7 years old, he jumped off the school bus and he had worn a pair of large, oversized sunglasses that day to school. And the kids on the school bus were calling him Elvis. And so he jumped off the school bus, ran up to me and said that. And I had written down my memories shortly after Elvis passed away as a way to just hold on. And I went forward with my life. I worked, I got married, had my son, raised him. He's 20 years old, just turned 20, went off to college 2 years ago. And the time was right because there were an awful lot of speculations and exaggerations and untruths regarding our relationship. And I wanted to get the truth out. And so when he went off to college, I devoted my time to him. And I went to work. And it took me a couple of years.
Take me back, Ginger, to 1976. You were 20 years old. You meet Elvis by a chance meeting at Graceland. What was it like at that point to step into the orbit of the most famous man on the planet?
He was a magical, magical person. I mean, he had this ability to draw you into his world, whether it be through his spiritual studies or his music. He just definitely had a gift and such a charismatic person. When he entered a room, you just felt this energy.
It's interesting. You met him late in his life. A lot of the impression that the public, I think, have of late Elvis is that he was unhappy, that he was overweight. That's not the impression you give in this book.
No.
Who was the Elvis you knew in those last days and months?
Willie, I mean, Elvis was looking forward to so many things. He wanted to do more films, more music, wanted to get married, wanted to have children. And I wrote in my book about how he would oversalt his food, and at times he would appear more puffy or bloated, if you want to call it that, on camera. But he was never fat. I used to get aggravated when people would say he was fat. You know, I thought he was a handsome man, and just he wasn't 20 anymore. And some people, that was hard to, to maybe see. Or
I was blinded from the moment I sat down by a couple of things you brought with you. What are we looking at here?
This was my beautiful engagement ring that Elvis gave to me on January 26, 1977. I had been sitting in his daughter's room with him. He got up, went to his bedroom, made a few phone calls, came back, and I was like, what's going on? And took me by the hand, went into his bathroom, which was his sanctuary, seated me in a chair, and said many beautiful words to me and asked me to marry him.
Absolutely gorgeous. And then the necklace, is that the TCB necklace?
This is a TLC.
Oh, the TLC necklace.
Stands for Tender Loving Care.
Of course, of course.
And you were part of his inner circle when he gave you this. And it's some of the most dear pieces I have.
You mentioned the bathroom, and unfortunately that's become an infamous place because of what happened on August the 16th, 1977. You spent a late night. He was famous for staying up all night.
Yeah.
Didn't go to bed till 6 or 8 in the morning, I guess, that night. And then you wake up, you go to the bathroom door. Describe what you saw.
Elvis had fallen forward from the toilet, and it was devastating. I wrote about it in my book. I was in denial. It was something that none of us expected. It's still hard to this day. But it was a very tragic, sad day.
You write in the book that you heard, as you turned his face, a hint of air expelled from his nose. Did that mean to you that Elvis was still alive when you found him?
I just, afterwards, when we were gathered, me and his father and his daughter and my niece Amber, when we were gathered in his grandmother's bedroom, we were all still hoping. It was hard. It was like this huge part of me knew, but we were just still praying and hoping that the doctors could save him. And just kept walking through the house and praying.
You describe in the book these sleep packets that Elvis took to help him get through the night to sleep. You describe him taking 2 that night. Did you have any sense of what kind of drugs were in those packets?
No, I wasn't sure. I know sometimes they had given Elvis placebos because he had a dependency on sleep medication. And sometimes they would switch and give placebos, but I didn't know exactly when that was. So I don't know what was in those particular packets on that particular day.
And in hindsight, do you think there's anything else that could have been done in those moments in that room to save Elvis Presley?
No, I think Elvis went very, very quickly.
It is a riveting read, I have to say. The book is Elvis and Ginger Alden. It's a pleasure to talk to you. last month marked 37 years since the death of Elvis.
Okay, so you know, Mando, Tony, thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. Anyone that hits the super thank you or becomes a member, it means everything to me. I really, really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you so much. Thank you. You show me that you like what we do here at Team Elvis, at Defending Elvis. So thank you. It's very, very, very appreciated. And welcome, Tony. Welcome to Team Elvis. We're a lovely family here, a growing family. And we have all become friends. Obviously, we all love Elvis and the bloodline. We are here to defend Elvis and Lisa Marie and the bloodline. We want to expose the wrongdoing to Elvis and his bloodline. But we also are an Elvis channel, so we discuss everything Elvis. This live stream we're going to do now is about Ginger Alden. So please welcome Tony, which is Mando on the name of the live stream. But welcome Tony to the membership. Thank you so much. So right, let's talk about the that video. Now I'll be honest with you guys, I don't like that video. I don't like the questions that he asked. I find that he's probing for negative stuff in that interview. Now, Ginger Alden, you know, 90% of that interview, she was okay. There's a couple of things that I would rather she had left out. Yeah. But generally, she speaks well of Elvis. She speaks in an upbeat way about Elvis, that he's was still excited about life, that he had lost some weight. He was looking forward to his tour. He was looking forward to getting married, having children, and that he was starting to get into a good place. But yeah, but generally, I agree with Elizabeth. It wasn't a very good interview, but we're going to play a few interviews. Now, I wanted to just see if I can find the book. Let me just see if I can find it. It's on Amazon. I'm not sure if I've got Amazon here. Let's have a look. What I want to do is get the, because I've ordered the book. I've ordered Ginger Alden's book. I think it's important that we get it. I think we need to go through it. So what I wanted to do is just get the book up and just read what it says. I was going to play some of the vintage interviews as well. Let's just get it on here a minute. Right. Book. So have any of you read Ginger Alden's book, I wonder? I know that many of you have got mixed views on Ginger Alden. Some of you think it was a fake relationship. It was too late in his life. Some of you really, really believe that they were going to get married, have kids, and a whole new bright future. Some of you are upset with her because you say that she was asleep when Elvis sadly passed that day. So some of you don't like the fact that she didn't want to live there. I've seen interviews where the Memphis Mafia didn't take her seriously because she didn't live there. So many of you think she was way too young. So there's a lot of opinions, So someone just said I read the book, and wasn't unimpressed. Right. Okay. So Blinky. So I want to see if I can read a little bit. So it says here, Elvis Presley and Graceland were regular fixtures in the life of Ginger Alden, having been born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, but she had no idea what she would play in a role in his lasting legacy as Elvis's fiance and last love. For over 3 decades, Ginger has kept silent about their relationship, and now she shares her story. And while a lot has been written about the king, the Elvis we meet in the long anticipated memoir is a revelation. This is a book about Elvis fans. No, this is a book Elvis fans have been waiting for. So I'll just see if there's any reviews. All right, there's no reviews on this. Let me just see if I can find I'd like to read out a couple of reviews. So we're going to go, let's just dig it up. Now, can you guys just tell me, what do you think of Ginger Alden? Do you think it was a serious relationship? Do you think it was going to happen? Or do you think Elvis was just too old, too unwell to have a proper relationship? Do you think Elvis, because he had a problem with the prescribed medication and was being attacked by Priscilla for the divorce settlement, and the fact that the Elvis, What Happened book had been released? Do you think that Elvis just had too much on his mind to take that relationship seriously? So I'm just interested in your views on Ginger Alden's relationship. I'm just see if I can get some reviews. So thank you. I feel so grateful to be part of this, and I love you so much. I love so much, and I was 7 years old when he passed, and I was devastated. So you're obviously, I'm 57, so we're a similar age. I always say this: once you've been affected by Elvis, I'm on about discovering him here. So I obviously discovered him in the 70s. You're never the same again. You're never the same again. Elvis touches your soul and changes you, and you never lose that feeling. Honestly, you never lose that feeling. I don't believe she cared much about Elvis, and it bothered me that she was fully made up when she came down after Elvis's passed away. Now, Karen, have you read the book? Can I ask you that? My part, poor Nicola. Nicola, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. That's it. We all give you a group hug, Nicola. We all give you a group hug. We all send you love. Oh, Nicola, whenever there's a death in the family, I just find the whole thing you just can't get your brain around it, can you? It's like, it's just too, I've had a few, we've all had a few, I think, recently, and we send you love. That's all I can say. So what I'm going to try and do, guys, is see, I'm on Amazon. Yeah. And see if I can I'd like to read a review on it. We've got a description. Let's see if it gives us a review. Here we are. Right, let's read the review. It says, customers find the book fantastic. They find accounts interesting and refreshing. Readers describe the author as honest and generous and respectful. They praise the writer's quality as well as natural writing ability. So here we go. This one says, it's quite a long review. Oh my God, this is long. Right, okay. Let me just check your comments before I read it. Personally, I think she was too young for him, and that at that stage of his life, another pretty airhead for his art. Now, Thea, y se cala vos vais. I definitely agree that Elvis at 42, she was just 20, so I agree. I do think when I watch Ginger's interviews, she's a very smart, beautiful woman. I like the way she speaks about Elvis. I think she really speaks about him in such a kind, positive way. So I love the way she portrays him. So I'm a fan of Ginger. I think she's great. But do I think the relationship was going to get to the point of marriage and children? I don't know, guys. Do I think Elvis was well enough? Bearing in mind he was very heavily medicated, he was chronically sick, he had a lot of problems, with the Memphis Mafia book, with Priscilla demanding this second divorce settlement. That was Elvis well enough to commit to an engagement and to really take it seriously? I don't know. I don't know, guys. Binky says, I think it was boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but not serious. Ginger didn't want to commit to living at Graceland. She disappeared for hours at a time, and Elvis was surprised. I mean, I've even heard rumors that she was unfaithful, guys. So thank you, Binky. Oh, that's it. Let's all show Nicola some support. Well done, guys. Team Elvis. Team Elvis. Yeah, he was in a bad place, so that obviously must affect the relationship. Binky didn't. She had another boyfriend at the same time as Elvis, and their arguments were Elvis wanted her to finish with him. I have read about that, Karen. Saw Ginger in an interview recently. She comes across well as a grown woman with life experiences now and then, and she's a family and we're taking advantage of his money. Yeah, she tells us about that. Yes, and she does bring this up in interviews. I think she's a decent woman, honestly. I think she's a decent woman, but you know, the person that she was aged 20 to the person she was 38 years later, I think she wrote the book. They're different people, aren't they? She's matured. I know that initially in 1978, she did make a movie. It's on YouTube, and she does play the part of a rock and roller's wife. So, and she looks stunning in that movie. Find it on YouTube, guys. Fascinating read. So this is a review on Amazon. Fascinating read. I had read and heard a lot of mixed reviews on this book, and it has taken me some time to come around to purchasing it. Lots of negative things said about Ginger and her family in the past, but I thought that Ginger's family didn't come across quite so wicked as I was expecting. I know she does get, Ginger gets some hate, she does, but she also has a lot of praise. There's a lot of people that love Ginger, and her Facebook page is excellent. I don't know if many of you guys have joined her Facebook page. She answers questions. She answers them from the heart. I know that she's upset about the things that were said in the book From Here to the Great Unknown by Lisa, but obviously we all fully support Lisa. So it's an awkward one, isn't it, guys? But I do believe every word Lisa says. Yeah, and so that can be awkward. Yeah. I think they tried to get something out of Elvis's estate for sure, and that was never going to be a good thing for them. But I was surprised, enthralled, and eager to read her story. The more I got into the book, she was very young and naive, and when she entered Elvis's world, and yet still seemed to hold on to her Southern beliefs and values, writing a story much later in her life has enabled her to process her life with Elvis and dealing with his tragic death, and more maturely than she wrote it soon after. Yeah, I agree. Processing it years later, she can see it from a different perspective. I don't think would have worked for her or us. Lovely to read. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. Let me just go back a little bit. Writing her story much later in her life has enabled her to process her life with Elvis and dealing with his tragic death more maturely. Had she wrote it soon after Elvis's passing, I don't think would have worked for her or us. Lovely to read of their shared time together and sounding like two people very much in love. Do you know what? That makes me want to read it, yeah? So just so you know, guys, I've ordered the book. It's coming tomorrow. I want to read a chapter tomorrow, okay? It's long been reported how lonely and isolated and reclusive Elvis' life became towards the end, but once he became famous, his life became that anyway, which is true, yeah? Along with his drug-induced state, I don't like that, but we should all take a little responsibility for giving him this enormous image. Now, I will just say this, guys. I don't agree with everything on this review. This is an Amazon review. I don't think he was in a drug-induced state. I think he was a chronically sick man that relied on pills, prescribed medication to relieve his pain, to boost his energy, to help him relax, to help him sleep, and to try and fix his chronic health problems. So I think there was a big mixture of why Elvis took pills. And don't forget, in the 70s, there was a pill for everything. In the 70s, anything that you wanted to fix. You went to your doctor and he gave you a pill. So it was pretty normal. So we have to understand that, yes, Elvis was over-medicated, but he felt he needed them. He was a desperate man in a lot of pain. He had many things wrong with him, as well as serious insomnia and a twisted colon. And he had heart issues, lung issues, glaucoma. He had so many health problems. This is why he took so many pills. So this drug-induced state that it says here, I don't agree with that. It's bullshit. But I'll keep going. So getting yet another perspective on Elvis's last few months of a young woman who obviously adored and loved him very much and was an appreciating read. She stayed out of the spotlight for long and managed to pick herself up and carry on with her life, getting married and having children, not even telling her boy anything about Elvis of her life. I think he was called Hunter. She didn't exactly jump on the bandwagon in any rush to tell the story. I think she told it with compassion and respect in an elegant of loyalty. The world knows Elvis's struggle with prescription drugs. That's better. That's how you say it, not drug-induced state. His struggle with prescription drugs, but instead of focusing on that, the weight gain, take a look at the likes of Sinatra at the end of his life, Elton John, not exactly skinny, a man who had a voice like no other, charisma, humble and generous to many, who changed the world in not only music, but gave many others the chance to see that they can make it to whatever you start out in life. Right, okay. That was okay. That was okay. I mean, there's a lot of reviews here. Let's see if we can find one that's not a mile long. They're all a mile long. Let's go. Let's find a short one. I am 19 years old who is obsessed with Elvis. She has read over 30 books on him, and I was thrilled to find this one. Not yet read it. Okay. Great. All ages. Elvis gets fans of all ages. I don't have time to read these very long write-ups because I've got to go soon. I do want to go through some of these reviews because I think these Amazon reviews are really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one of the vintage interviews of Ginger Alden and read your comments. Let's see if we can do it, guys. I actually find all of Elvis's girlfriends fascinating. I like, let's see if we can find a proper old interview. Yeah, here we go. Right, are we ready, guys? Obviously, this is way back just after Elvis died. I'm not sure exactly what year it is. I think it's 1978. Right, are we ready? Oosh.
Who was both frightened and flattered to be introduced to her lifelong idol, Elvis Presley, and it turned into a fairy tale romance. The world of Elvis was one of exotic cars and unscheduled jet trips to Hawaii, beautiful clothes and beautiful people, and endless excitement. At 4 a.m. on August 16th, as their wedding plans. 10 hours later, Ginger found Elvis dead. Tell me about the last time that you saw Elvis, the last day that you were with him.
The last day.
He was getting ready to go on a concert, right?
Yes, and he was in a good mood and nervous because of a tour. And he mentioned something to me about playing racquetball, and I said, yes, I wanted to. So he called his cousin, Billy Smith, and Joe, and we went out back to where he has a racquetball court. And I didn't play racquetball. I sat, there's a glass partition where you can watch whoever is playing racquetball. And I watched him, and he would do funny things and try and see if we were laughing. And then he seemed to be getting a little tired then. So he came out and he sat down by me. And he didn't go back out and play again, but he got up and got on a bicycle exerciser, and he was on that for about 3 minutes. And then it was early morning, and we were going to go back upstairs, and he was going to go to sleep so he could get ready for his tour.
This was in his bedroom?
Yes.
And that was the last time that you saw him?
Yes.
What'd you say?
The last time I saw him.
Yeah, any conversation?
Well, he had tried to go to sleep, and he stood up one time, and he had a book in his hand. I don't know the name of it, but it was a religious book. And he turned around and looked at me, and he said he was going to go in the bathroom and read. And I said, okay. And that was when he walked into the bathroom.
And then you left, went downstairs?
No, I stayed there. I had fallen asleep there, and I stayed there. And I was going to get ready and come home later that day and pack to go on the tour.
And then when did you see him next?
That was when I walked in. I noticed, of course, he had been in there for some time. And I called.
What time is this now?
This was 2:20, about 2:30.
Okay, so about what, 6 hours had passed?
It must have been about 6 hours.
And then you went back into the room, and do you remember what you saw?
That was when I went to the bathroom, and that was when I found him.
I imagine that must have been a shocking experience for him, obviously.
Yes, and it was, of course, much worse because he had just been discussing the wedding plans that same morning.
What went on in the house afterwards?
Well, of
A lot of
course.
confusion?
Oh, yes. It was something so unbelievable. People were all in different rooms praying, and it was just like something that couldn't be happening.
How has that affected your life?
It's just so difficult to from that level. I feel like what Martin Luther King said, I've been to the top of the mountain, and I'm just trying to adjust now, but it's very difficult for me.
Tomorrow night, some happier memories. Ginger recalls her first date with Elvis and some of the things they did together in a romance that, well, was fated to end all too soon. Jerry?
Yes. Coming up next is what Eddie with the third series on Elvis Presley and the girl who planned to marry him.
Jerry, Ginger Alden, the girl Elvis planned to marry, showed me a photograph of her with Elvis Presley, which she said had not been seen publicly before. It was taken in Hawaii, his favorite place to work or play. She had another unusual photo. The recruiting officer at the time of Elvis's induction into the Army was her father. I asked Ginger a question on behalf of millions of American women. What is a date with Elvis Presley like? What do you do?
Well, it's very different. I went up to see him, and he'd been telling me about his Ferrari, his car that he had. And then he asked me if I would like to go for a ride in his Stutz Blackhawk. And I said yes. And then after a while, he said to go on a ride in his small plane, the Lockheed Jetstar, around the city. So the plane was just beautiful when I first saw it because I had never seen anything like that. And the pilot, Milo High, was very, very nice. And I sat down, and after a few moments, Elvis said, "Everybody hold it." And he had this kind of smile on his face, and he said, "I'll be back in a minute." And he got off the plane and jumped back in his Stutz. And he must have gone to Graceland because he returned. And he said, "We're going to Las Vegas." And he'd gotten pajamas for everyone. And he asked me if it would be all right. And I was in such shock. I said, "Yes, I'll call my mother when I get back." So
your first official date, instead of a spin around Memphis, you went to Vegas.
Right.
What'd you do in Vegas?
This was really fun. Everybody slept when we got there. We just stayed there a half of a day and returned the next day. Everybody was so tired from the trip.
When did Elvis propose, and how did he propose?
It was on January the 26th, one afternoon. And I had been up at Graceland. And he had been in the other room. He always had things going on around me that I never knew about. And he took my hand and took me into the lounge area of his bathroom. And I sat down in a black chair. And he got down on his knees. And then he asked me, he just said, "I'm asking you, will you marry me?" And of course I said yes. It was just, it was also beautiful.
And then what were your plans? When were you going to be married? When was the announcement going to be made?
He was going to make the announcement when he played here this Saturday night. He was going to have his concert here in Memphis from the stage. And he had been discussing the type of dress. He said that he had some people working on one in Los Angeles, and that it would have small rosebuds with little gold threads through it. And he wanted me to wear glass slippers and a little tiara on my head. And he said, it's got to be the wedding of the century.
Tomorrow night, Ginger talks about Elvis's reaction with Ginger Alden, the girl who planned to marry Elvis Presley before his tragic death. By the way, Chuck, last week's Ginger mother filed a suit against the Presley estate, trying to get it to pay her $40,000 in mortgage money because she said Elvis had promised to do that before he died.
He furnished the family with a home and a swimming pool, and now the mother wants it all paid for. Elvis Presley's generosity was well known. He didn't advertise it, but the people who benefited from it did. Ginger Alden, the girl he planned to marry, was one of the 12-carat ring on her finger.
So I'm going to let it play out, guys, because I just find it all very fascinating. But thanks to everyone for joining us. This is just a warm-up video because we're going to do a proper Ginger Alden video tomorrow because I've ordered the book off Amazon. I want to start reading the book to you guys. Let's keep going.
Was a gift from Elvis. So were the expensive cars parked around her home in Memphis. Elvis was very good to a lot of people, and Ginger now feels that some of them were less than good to him. There's been a lot of things said about him. Former bodyguards that were close to him said he was on drugs, lived the life of a hermit, very emotional person. What can you tell us about these things? Is there any truth to any of this?
No, I never met the 3 bodyguards, so I don't know them, but I can only go by what Elvis told me. And the book did upset him, but before it came out, he told me the only reason that the book was upsetting him was because it wasn't the content, it was the principle, because he had done so much for the bodyguards' families and things of that nature. And for them to turn and do something like that was what I think really got to him and hurt him.
How about the accusations that were in the book? They were all untrue? They've just taken small incidents and blown them up out of proportion? Or...
Well, I haven't read the book, so I don't know. I've heard bits and pieces of it. But I'm sure the majority of it has been blown out of proportion, way out of proportion.
Did he use drugs?
No, he did not. He had certain prescribed medications that he had to have. And he took a lot of vitamins. A lot of vitamin pills were laying around in bottles. And I think a lot of people, if they ever happened to see that, mistook them for drug bottles. And I'm sure that's how those got started.
Was he concerned about his weight?
He mentioned to me one time that he knew he was getting overweight, and like that bothered him. And I would talk with him many times and try. For some reason, he wouldn't go out and do certain things when I tried to get him to go out. So we had our differences there. I would try to get him to eat better foods, and I did get him on some healthy foods. But he would go, I don't know, it might have been his nerves or what, but he would go on binges. He would eat certain types of food for a long time that really weren't that healthy for him.
Mark Todd, innovator, idol youth, really died in the 1950s, but capitalist Americans kept it alive to make money. The Russian commentator said the Presley legend has been buried in the aftermath of the singer's death in a flood of souvenirs that have, and we'll quote, lowered the name of the idol to the level of a trinket. They, of course, didn't know the Elvis Presley we did. To put him in proper perspective, tonight the conclusion of Chuck Henry's series on Elvis Presley and the impact he had on the people around him.
Jerry, you know, if Elvis Presley had lived just 4.5 months longer, Ginger Alden would have been Mrs. Elvis Presley, but that storybook romance was not fated to end that way. These days, Ginger tries to forget the tragedy of Elvis's death and remember the good things in their relationship. And about such things, she is more than willing to talk. At what point did you fall in love with Elvis? And did Elvis fall in love with you?
Well, when I was in Las Vegas with him, this was in December. This was the first time I had been in Las Vegas while he was performing there. And he was there for 14 days, it was like. And when he mentioned it, I just kind of smiled and laughed, and I really didn't say anything. But later on, after a few months, he started telling me how much he needed me. And then I really saw that, and I realized I needed him. I needed maturity. And that was when I really realized that I was in love with him.
You know, there are millions of women who would love to trade places with you and have the kind of relationship that you had with Elvis. Was he a romantic individual?
Yes, he knew what to say. He could take anything ugly and make it sound beautiful. And he was very, very religious. And we would talk many hours each night on different philosophies. He had certain philosophies and different books. And he had a beautiful way of speaking, really.
A tender individual, a loving individual?
Yes, very. He was very, I've never noticed it on anybody on earth, the certain kind of love that he had. And it was true.
There's a lot of talk about what's going to become of the legend now. What would you like to see happen? You go down to Elvis Presley Boulevard and the hucksters are down there selling plastic, buttons of Elvis, you name it, his pictures on it. What would you like to see happen? Some way to preserve the memory? What?
I would like to see a very nice building erected in his memory and with his trophies on display. And I think Elvis would like that too. And I know he'll never be forgotten by millions of fans. His name will be kept on going in one way or the other.
What one thing is going to stand out in your mind years from now, 10, 15, 20 years? What is it you're going to tell your children and tell your grandchildren about Elvis Presley?
That I shared a love with one of the greatest men on earth.
Obviously, Ginger Alden is a beautiful young woman. Millions of women probably envied her, but I wonder if they envy her now. It will be interesting, I think, to see what path she takes in the future. Jerry? Interesting.
That ending, that guy, what he said then, every time I watch it, I'm like, what is that? I wonder if they envy her now. It's like, Elvis is dead. I wonder if they envy her now. Stupid art ending. But I actually thought Ginger was really good in that. I thought, it's a lovely interview, don't you think, guys? Do you? And she's obviously stunning. Yeah, she's a beautiful lady. I just think, how old is she there? She probably is like 21 there in that interview. A lot of us are older, and I'm 57. We can look back on her, and 21 is so young, probably quite naive. She probably can't believe all the attention that she's getting because of being Elvis's last girlfriend, the one that actually found him dead as well. One of the ones that found him dead. I just find it's a lot to take in. I mean, I have sort of read things where people act as if after he died, that she just settled down, got married, had a kid, and disappeared. That isn't actually true. She did try and have a movie career. Yeah, she was still doing other things like modeling, etc. I think the movie was a flop. There was a movie around 1978. Yeah, I think you can find it on YouTube. Does any of you guys know the name of the movie she made? She plays a rock star's partner. Do any of you know? I know it's free on YouTube because someone sent me the name of it and I watched a bit of it. It wasn't a very good movie, but the thing that I did like was you could see Ginger Alden looking very, very beautiful in that film. She wasn't a very good actress. So I do think initially she tried to benefit from being Elvis's last girlfriend. But then you can see she takes a different turn in her life and then obviously meets her husband, who she was with for a long, long, long time. Unfortunately, I think he passed away. One of the interviews I saw that it was 38 years later that she wrote the book. Now, I do think this book's going to be quite an interesting book. For me, reading about how they met, the type of relationship they had, how they got on, the inside secret details of their friendship and relationship. I'm looking forward to reading the book. I think it's going to be an interesting read. Now, I know that you guys have very different views on Ginger. You know, some of you like her, some of you don't. Some of you think they were meant to be. Some of you think that the whole thing was a fake relationship. Now, one thing I do think that stands out with Ginger is she's a lovely person. That's one thing I will say about Ginger. She's a lovely person. Even the way she conducts herself on her Facebook page, she's very, very, very gracious. She answers many questions. I know that there's a bit of a complicated situation because of Lisa Marie's words in the book From Here to the Great Unknown. Of course, I fully support Lisa Marie, so I believe fully Lisa Marie's words in the book. I do. Obviously, her memories are from a much, you know, from Lisa Marie as a child. So you have to bear that in mind when Lisa is speaking about how she feels. The number one thing I like about Ginger is that when she does talk of Elvis, she upbeats him. She talks about his qualities and how he was still looking forward to life, looking forward to his tour. He would still sing. We know that he took her to her grandparents. One of her grandparents died, and he took her, I think it was the grandfather, and he allowed her to use a small chartered aeroplane. Quite a few of them attended the funeral, and Elvis and Charlie Hodge even sang at her grandfather's funeral, which is very, very sweet, I think. I just think my view on it at the moment is, until we read the book, is that Elvis was going through a lot. He's obviously heavily medicated. He's chronically sick. He's got the situation with the book Elvis, What Happened, you know, that's obviously seriously affected him. And then you've got Priscilla is still attacking him for this divorce settlement, demanding money, which eventually evolves into her having a lien placed on Graceland. And then you've got Elvis dealing with these extreme health issues that, you know, his colon, twisted colon, his heart, his lungs, he's got glaucoma. Some say even like arthritis, you know, high blood pressure, hypertension. Just Elvis was so unwell. So he's massively relying on all these different medications. And she does mention that to her, it was prescribed medications that he needed. She clearly says that. Then she talks about Elvis took a lot of vitamins, which I think is true. I think Elvis, when Elvis was trying to lose weight, he would take a lot of vitamins. He would. And so for someone who was actually there, we get quite a good account of what was happening just around those months before he died. Yeah. Yeah, she is. She's being gracious and friendly. I agree. Yeah. And Karen says that Ginger tries to talk about it like it was a great love affair. Well, you know, it was 9 months long, so it is what it is. Yeah. How great can it be in 9 months? She didn't live there. It's supposed that he was about to meet a different girl or had met other women. Yeah. So I don't think it was this worldwide romance. Now, I don't want to offend her, mind, because I like Ginger Alden, but don't forget, we're talking about a woman now who is she in her 60s now, who's talking about a relationship that happened, you know, many, many decades ago. So rose-tinted memories, some of it. We know about the engagement. We know that she says Elvis said he was going to marry her at Christmas and have children. Do any of you think that's true? You know, I'm not saying it's not true, guys. Just I'm asking your opinions. What do you think? It's going to be a very, very interesting live stream when the book comes through tomorrow, I hope. So Debbie says, I don't think the relationship would have lasted. So Misha, oh my God, I'm not going to get it right. Blink. Oh, I'm never going to get it right. Blinky says she's a good actress. I'll give her that. So, oh, thanks, Michelle. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I plead innocent. I plead innocent of all sins. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. Right. Let's have a look. So Elizabeth, I love how she talks about Elvis. You heard that her husband passed away on the same day. Yes, I think that's true, isn't it? Where are we? Oh yeah, Finola. I definitely agree. He made he of course made a massive impact, and she went to watch him in concert many times, and he even introduced her to the audience, didn't he? The Memphis Mafia guy said that many arguments in their present, but then many do have arguments in their relationship. I'm kind of in the middle there. Yeah, I see that, Elizabeth. So, yeah, that is odd, isn't it? I think Elvis probably hoped it would probably have said some of those things, but doubt he truly believed it would happen. I'm not going to lie. I'm not convinced that they were going to get married and have kids, but I do think this, that Elvis in his 40s was getting to a point where he was ready to settle, to calm down, to live a more married style life, maybe even have children. Why not? If Elvis got his health back on track, carried on losing weight, because he definitely had been losing weight, I can see Elvis in his 40s being settled, having children, being happy, having a home, I mean, having kids at home, being a great dad and a great husband. I see that in Elvis. I don't think Elvis in his 40s wanted to sleep around. I don't think he was interested in sex. I think he wanted a proper companion, someone he could trust and respect and have children with and deeply love, and that would look after the home. He's an old-fashioned Southern guy. So I think there was a good future for Elvis, but unfortunately, he was seriously, chronically sick. He was over-medicated. Of course, he was addicted to some of the tablets he took, some of the painkillers, some of the sleeping tablets, and some of the tablets that were to help cure him. There's a possibility that he had inherited genetic problems from his grandparents on his mother's side, that they were first cousins. So it is very sad. It is very sad. I still find it fascinating, though. I think all of us do here at Defending Elvis. I want to know what went on in that last year, obviously 8-9 months that they were together. I want to know, and I think reading the book together with Team Elvis, reading Ginger Alden's book, I think it'll be a real eye-opener. Are there many people here that have read the book? Have many of you? I know Blinky has read it. Did Karen, did you say you had read it? Are there any of you now watching that have read Ginger Alden's book? I'm interested to know that. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, and you know me, I don't like reading, but yeah. So hi Susan, don't forget Susan's got her own YouTube channel. Let's Talk with Susan. Please subscribe to it. She's got a brilliant channel. So yeah, I think you guys are going to agree with me. It's going to be an interesting read. Do we agree on that? And I'm hoping to start reading it tomorrow. Yeah, Elvis sang at her grandfather's funeral, and Charlie Hodgson, they harmonized together. And Elvis stayed with Ginger Alden and her family for 10 days, guys. 10 days. And he arranged for a flight for Ginger to go to her grandfather's funeral. It's just so beautiful. Elvis is like that. Yeah, Elizabeth. I would say it's one of the books I'm mostly looking forward to reading. This Ginger Alden book. Seriously, guys, I'd love to read it. The other thing I'd like to read about is Anne Margaret as well. Her time with Elvis, that little short relationship that they had, and also their friendship that lasted quite a few years. I'd love to read about that. I'd love to have an insider's view on that. Yeah, Karen, I think it'll be interesting, won't it? Karen, I think you're going to enjoy it. And I think with Ginger Alden's book, let's see how it goes. But I might, with Ginger Alden's book, I might try and read it from beginning to end over 3 or 4 days, rather than jump around on the books. I think with Ginger Alden's book, I might just stick with it. We'll see. We'll see. You know, I change my mind every day. Hi, Snowbird. Snowbird, where have you been? We haven't seen you for a while. How are you keeping? All right. Anyway, guys, my brother's here, so I gotta go. I'll be back. I'll be back. Take care, guys. I love you. Bye, guys. All the best. I'm gonna come back for a part 2. Okay. Andy, do you want to say hello? I'll turn it off.
Yeah, we'll be out.
And I just see. This is my twin brother, Team Elvis. Oh, baby, how you doing? This is my twin brother. We're going off to work today.
Real Elvis fans.
Team Elvis, you rock. Taking care of business
Since we were children. Genuine Elvis fans.
I told you I was a twin. Yeah. Anyway, guys, see ya.